Hey guys, it's Mountain Walk, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Tron. Yeah, that's right, you can play Tron in another format. I mean, I know people are pretty excited to hear that. It's not as, I'd say, oppressive as its modern variation. Decks are actually pretty similar, but the payoffs are a little bit worse. But it's still pretty fun, still pretty sweet, still pretty strong. So let's go ahead and look at this thing. Let's get started. All right, it's a big mana deck, of course, just like all the other sort of Tron decks. So yeah, it's Ramp Town. It's all about getting the Urza lands into play and a bunch of them, and doing something silly with them. So like I said, plays like the modern version of the deck. Uh, Nothing too weird, got your tutors for your lands and their mana cantripping, filtering rocks. Um, yeah, that all that kind of stuff. Like I said, payoffs are worse. We don't really have turn 3 Karn, although that's probably for the better. I mean, that's not exactly a fun sequence of events. But you do have tons of dudes. Due to Living Wish, you have a lot of ways to access pretty much any guy. So when I was playing, I never had any problems with like, oh, I don't have a payoff. I always got the payoff, which is nice. The thing that's not nice is your softmost combo decks. Boo, that sucks. You don't really interact very well with things on the stack, that kind of thing. And due to like the wishes and stuff, you don't have a ton of space in your sideboard, unfortunately, and you're a little bit slow. So unless decks are trying to interact with creatures or do stuff on board, you're probably not going to be having a good time. But that's okay. No biggie. We'll figure it out. So I'm thinking probably the best thing to do is probably just dodge those matchups. Probably not worth it to try and mangle your sideboard or main deck or whatever to try and fit everything in you need to actually make a bad matchup maybe a little better. So that's what my philosophy is. I'll just be like, well, sometimes you just got bad matchups, and sometimes you're gonna lose it. It's not really worth, trying to beat everything because you can't most of the time. So let's look at the deck list. All right, again, look at this thing. Looks pretty similar, right? Urza's lands, uh, chromatic spheres, tutors. I mean, all sorts of stuff. So crop rotation, living wish, your main tutors. So that's why we got the Urza's lands in the sideboard, one of each. Um, and then, of course, we got Sylvan Library. Obviously, great to just draw a bunch of cards. Pretty sweet. Got good synergy with Phantom Neshoba, of course. Then we got our payoffs. Triskelion. I think that probably needs to be a third Sylvan Library instead of the Triskelion. So he's kind of meh. But the rest were good. Massacre, of course, Phantom Neshoba, Decree of Justice, and Mishra's Helix. Good in all sorts of different matchups. Mishra's Helix good against the slower decks, board control decks that want to play at sorcery speed. Decree of Justice is good against control decks. Phantom Neshoba against aggro, and Massacre also against aggro or any deck that doesn't have Plow or a way to really kill Massacre. So that's always good. And we got some things to slow other decks down, like Swords to Plowshares and Wall of Blossoms. And of course, our mana base, we got Sungrass Egg as another cantripping, color fixing thing, which is great. Then we got all sorts of other things like Sungrass Prairie, which I may or may not want to run in the sideboard because it'll give you the 2 colors of mana you need. So being able to Living Wish for that might be kind of nice. Basics to fetch with your Windswept Teeth, Pain lands, and of course your Urza lands. In the sideboard, we got your payoffs, which is Phantom Neshoba, Mastercore, one of each Urza land, Taro's Faithful against the aggressive decks, and Tuco Vigilante against stuff with artifacts and enchantments, so a way to wish for artifact and enchantment removal, even though it's really dirtily. Choke against blue decks, which is pretty sweet. Hystrodon against any deck that wants to grind. Hystrodon, pretty sweet. Love that guy. Also against, yeah, I'd probably board it in against mostly just blue decks probably. Then we got Cop Red. I guess that's pretty obvious. It's good against red decks. And Naturalize just as a way to kill artifacts and enchantments. I guess that's pretty obvious too. All right. So basically, there's three main basic parts of a Tron deck. You got your Urza lands, which you need, and then to assemble those, you got your tutors or your draw spells or whatever. So we got Crop Rotation and Living Wish, and of course all your payoff cards. So the three main parts, and that's basically how your games will go. Is just playing and drawing your Urza's lands, assembling them with Crop Rotation, Living Wish, and then casting your big stupid thing or whatever for a bunch of mana. And that's pretty much how they've always gone. Pretty much the same way they work in Modern. Uh, the only thing you can't really control is sometimes, obviously, Mastercore is not as good against something like, say, the Standstill decks, because they can plow it, so it's a little worse there. Or I guess if they catch you when you're tapped out, they can disenchant it. I mean, that's a little less likely. Um, yeah. And then anything but Phantom to show it might be kind of slow against some of the red decks. So it just kind of depends. So that you're a little random there. So it's a little bit up to chance if you draw the right card at the right time. But most of the time, these cards will pretty much work against anyone. So no big deal. Just get a bunch of mana and drop big stupid crap into the game. And yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple. Basically, yeah, you have one plan: get Tron, drop fat things, and that's pretty much it. Some ramp decks are really simple, which is nice. I like that. Okay, so I goldfished about 20 different. Of course, the games were different. Of course, I've goldfished 20 games. I mulled about 6 times. Probably should have mulled a little more aggressively, especially with the London Mulligan. A lot of times when I mulled to 6, my 6 was just so much better than my 7. So yeah, that's probably something to keep in mind too. Um, the deck mulls pretty well because all you really need to do is just assemble Tron and drop something fat. So you don't really need a ton of cards to do that. Like I said, every game always had a payoff. That was never a problem. Massacre is pretty sweet. Being able to drop a Masticore and then have like 4 mana available or 3 mana or whatever. So being able to drop it and have mana to ping something or to regenerate is pretty great, pretty great. So you can get immediate value out of it or protect it or whatnot. And it's nice because even the times when I didn't assemble Tron very quickly, I always had stuff like Plow or Wall of Blossoms or whatever to slow the game down and give me extra time to be able to find my extra Tron cards, or my extra Tron lands, I should say. And of course, since we don't play all 4 of the Tron lands main deck because we wish for them, never drew natural Tron. Not a big deal though, like I said. Wasn't too hard to assemble it most of the time. So let's look at those numbers. Okay, 20 goldfish games, and I assembled Tron on turn 3 about 6 out of 20 times, on turn 4 7 out of 20 times, on turn 5 4 out of 20 times, and then once on turn 6 7, and then one game it was like infinity, turn infinity. So those last 3 games were definitely hands. 2 of them I think the hands were fine-ish looking, but it just never assembled. And then one of them I obviously should have just mulliganed. It just was bad. So yeah, I think the lesson here is to mull more aggressively with this deck. Um, and yeah, because it pretty much almost every time I mulled, I think my hand was just so much better than my 7. It's just kind of crazy, especially with the London Mulligan, which gives you even more consistency in assembling Tron, and that's really what you want to do, because without it, you're probably going to be in trouble. Although, like I said, Mastercore only costs 4, so it's not unreasonable to just play a normal game and dropping like a Mastercore or whatever, and trying to win that way. Um, but yeah, so it's I guess this is about average. It was kind of weird. I didn't think I'd be able to assemble like Tron on turn three about a quarter or a third of the time about. So yeah, I mean, again, these numbers are probably lowballing it a little bit because of, again, I didn't mull as aggressively as I should. I just kind of wanted to get a feel for it. So that's cool. That's pretty interesting. So it's good to know. Good to know. So I think this should be a pretty fun deck. Um, yeah, I like it. Gives me another reason to play Hystrodon in decks. I love Hystrodon. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, come on, who doesn't love Hystrodon? Hystrodon's amazing. So yeah, yeah. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Tron's pretty cool, pretty fun. Always like dropping big fat things. Always like ramping. I like ramping. That's always fun. Good fun. Good fun. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Maybe you'll play this deck. Pretty cheap, pretty easy to assemble. That's always nice. I think the most expensive thing in there is like the Sylvan Library. You can always get like white bordered versions or whatever, fourth edition or Chronicles or whatever. I think it was in Chronicles, or was it only in fourth? Can't quite remember, but there's a white bordered version, so it's a little bit cheaper than the Legends version, so that's always nice. But yeah, budget decks are always good. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Thanks for watching my video, and hope to see you around, and have a great day.